All right, welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes. It's that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Man, today's episode is fantastic. Houston, we got a problem. We got our Houston correspondent, that dude, Tomas. What's going on, brother?
What up, guys? Repping the H all day till the day I die, regardless of how I feel in the moment.
Tons to talk about with Houston sports. Obviously, most of it not too good, but let's start on the bright side of things. University of Houston. We're recording this a little bit early, so by the time this airs, the Elite Eight game will probably have already been played, but they just won their Sweet 16 game. They're going to be the Elite Eight going against Oregon State. I personally think it's a walk in the park for them to get to the Final Four. I don't know, but that's pretty awesome stuff. Josh, I know you kind of been all over Houston this year.
Yeah, I've definitely been following H-Town throughout the season. I'm a big fan of theirs. I like what Kelvin Sampson's done with that program. He grabbed Quentin Grimes from Kansas. He was a transfer from Kansas, a former 5-star recruit out of high school, All-American. Coming out of high school, he was projected as the 6th overall pick in the NBA draft for that following year after his freshman year. He kind of had a down year at Kansas, averaging about 8 a game or so as a freshman. He decided he entered the NBA draft, for those that don't know. He entered the NBA draft, but then decided to come out. I guess he weighed where he was as far as where he's going to be picked, and he transferred to Houston. And this year, he actually won the Conference Player of the Year in the American Conference. He's averaging 18 points a game as a junior. So his stock's going back up. And in doing so, he's also helping lead that Houston team with Kelvin Sampson to the Elite Eight. They have another dude, John Giroux. Also a very athletic. They're the number 2 team in the country in points allowed per game out of 347 D1 teams. So they're number 2. I think they'll match up with Baylor. I think that'd be a great game in the semifinals of the Final Four. So I think they could get all the way up to the national championship. And who knows? It's only a 1 game. There's no best of 5, best of 7 in college. So if they can get there, who knows? Maybe they'll be able to pull up that upset. But
it's been a while since the Cougs have really been a decent basketball program. I mean, as good as we're doing this year, and to backdoor what you said about Grimes, we did get him. I call it a steal from Kansas. I mean, that guy came in and he's doing his thing. And if I could be wrong, but I think we're like 15 or 16-0 when he scores 20 or more points. And that was a big deal about last night when I was looking at the game, because Syracuse themselves, they were 6-0 in the Sweet 16. So I was a little unsure about the game, but obviously we came out and we did our thing. And then Giroux, when that guy gets going up and down the court, man, he's hard to stop. Yeah. And he's one of those basketball players to me where he's all around. He's your defensive player. He can be your point guard if you need him to. That guy's going to pull up and take a jump shot, 15-footer. He's going to nail it. He's really consistent with it. And then the coach overall has really developed that program. So the city, similar to a lot of cities, bigger cities and things like that, we are definitely on the bandwagon with the Cougs. As you can see, repping today. Got to rep the Cougs. But yeah, man, the city's live. The city loves when our sports are going.
Right, there Absolutely. Is no for sure thing with this March Madness. Josh, I think you and I both threw our brackets away after day 1 ended. Yeah. With the March Madness, we threw our brackets away, right? But that's
I think there was 108 brackets that were still left after the day 1 out of like 9.6 billion or whatever was done. It was 108 brackets that were still remaining.
And by day 2, they were all done.
And by day 2, there was 0.
Yeah.
So by the end of the first round, there were no perfect brackets.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I have Cougars in the championship game against Gonzaga in my bracket, and a lot of people were giving me a lot of, they're giving me a lot of pushback from it.
Let's talk about a little bit of hate in Houston with the Houston Astros. I know Houston, the season's about to start. I mean, where are we at with the Astros this season, Tomas?
I say they're gonna stay consistent. They're gonna be where they've been the last few years. There's a lot of hate with them. Personally, not being biased, just being a baseball person, and of course I love the Astros. But when it comes to the 2017 and the scandal and everybody's saying they want to put an asterisk by a championship, you can't. We outsmarted the people who's been doing it since baseball's been a thing. Everybody does it in baseball. Everybody still signs. That's like what you do. We just did it with advanced technology, so haters are gonna hate. We're like, you can't be mad at that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. We did it with advanced technology. Unfortunately, stealing signs is a thing in baseball. It always has been. Anybody who truly loves the sport and is into baseball will tell you that. It goes from the minor league They do it in college. And 2017 Astros champions will always be 2017 Astros champions. Went to the parade, by the way. It was amazing. And this year, I can see us back in the run, hopefully in the World Series again.
Yeah, I think, there's always the old saying, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. There's always cheating in sports. I'm on the fence, and mostly I'm on the fence because I'm not a huge Astros fan. That's the only reason I'm on the fence. So if I was an Astros fan, I'd be all the way with you, Tomas. But they just got caught. They got caught red-handed. What I personally don't like about it was that the manager took the fall for everything. The players got immunity. Nobody, none of the players got any backlash from it, suspensions or anything like that. The manager and the GM, I think, took all the heat for it. I know we talked a little bit about, what are the expectations as far as how the other teams in Major League are going to treat the Astros and the fans. Honestly, I think they're going to treat it like they just found out, because the last season there were no fans. So this is the first time, the Houston Astros are going to be in, away baseball stadiums with fans.
I think the players are going to be over it somewhat. The fans, I think, will let them hear it because, like you said, it's their first time back in the stadium. I think the players, for the most part, are just going to be happy to be back, getting to normal after all this COVID stuff. I think they're going to be happy just to be getting back to the normal, everyday baseball routine. So I think I don't think they're going to get too much more heat from the players. Fans, of course, they're going to let them hear it a little bit. I think you got to keep the integrity of the game. But, y'all have points, too, as far as people are always stealing signs in baseball because it's a next step up with the technology or whatnot. So it kind of freaked everybody out. So there's where the backlash goes. I think it's good. They get some backlash, but I don't think they're the champions of 2017. That's it. So I don't think anything should happen on that end.
I can agree with that a little bit just because I think all the throwing at players from all the other pitchers in the league, I think they got it out of their system last year. What was it, the first 6 games? Almost every player got hit with the ball every time they stepped up to the bat or to the plate. And it's one of those things where how long are you going to hold that grudge? They can't hold it for too long. And the teams we beat, I think, is why we got the most backlash for it that year. With the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, we beat the big names to win a championship, and we did it how everybody else has always done it. We just beat the bigger dogs. And like you said earlier, man, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And we cheated better.
They were cheating, and it was at home, and it was affecting them. But if you look at their numbers were similar when they were on the road too. So I think that was also the biggest factor. If you don't like it, then cheat better than them or beat them at home. I don't know what to say. It is what it is.
And I think when it comes to the baseball factor too, it's not like the bats weren't corked. We weren't putting tar on, hiding tar to make the pitchers throw better. We just did what everybody else does when it comes to stealing signs. And we still were slugging the balls, putting them out of the park, whether they're stealing the signs or not. You can't just hit a home run if you're not good at hitting baseball.
Yeah,
you still got to swing.
And as a pitcher, you need to have awareness. You need to know that. And also as a catcher, you need to know that. Change your signs. It's not hard.
Exactly. If you know they're doing it, change your system. Switch it up on them and make it more difficult. You can't ride. Think of how many baseball games there are in a season. They knew halfway through the season that the Astros were stealing signs, but every franchise was doing the same thing and not changing their system up. And I'm gonna take the W. I'll take it till the grave.
Yeah, look, if my team, if we won a World Series or a championship, and 2 years later I found out we cheated, I'm gonna say, damn. All right, and then just move on. I'm gonna take the ring. I'm gonna take the ring and keep going.
I think we're gonna at least go to the division game. We did lose some names. What was it? Springer we lost.
Yeah.
And that hurt. I can't lie, man. But we still got Correa. We still got Tuve. And we still got Bergman. So we still got some names out there. We still got some boys who can make some plays happen. So I can see us at least going to the division. If not, going to the World Series.
Josh, how do you think the Astros will fare this year?
Man, it's tough to say. because like y'all said, they did lose George Springer. He's one of their key bats. They're also, other than that, most of their bats are returning, correct? For at least this one more season.
Yeah.
Last year, their struggles in the regular season were due large part because of pitching. I think they'll compete for a wild card spot. I don't know. I don't really know what else is going on in the division, so that's why it makes it tough to say. Losing Springer's going to hurt. I see them competing for a wild card spot. And maybe, I mean, once you get in the playoffs in baseball, anything can really happen. So maybe they'll make a run there. But
all right, now this roller coaster just keeps going downhill. Let's talk about the
It's Houston right now, sir.
The community college basketball team of the Houston Rockets. Good God, I don't even know where to start. So they just lost 20 games in a row.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to Rockets, man, me being a diehard basketball fan overall, you know, being at the 94, 95 parades, riding it out as long as I possibly can, back-to-back championships with who we had at the time frame. When we were winning and we hit, I think, what was it, 6 or 9 games in a row this year with who we had, with a new GM, a new coach, bringing in John Wall. I'm not a big Boogie Cousins fan. We brought in Cousins. And we were rolling with the punches. I was running my mouth, man, like we were a championship team. And then, boom, I got hit by a freight train in reality, and I woke up from my dream, and we lost 20 in a row.
What happened? Did they just realize they weren't going to compete for a title? So, hey, let's tank. I mean, it's hard to lose 20 in a row. It's like you have to try to lose 20 in a row. That just doesn't make much sense.
Some of those games that we were actually in, I just think it came down to we got out-coached. We have a brand new team. We were built around James Harden for so many years that we were so into that system of how he played. Everybody adapted to how he played. He's out. We got new guys in that had to learn how to play with each other. I mean, Boogies and John Wall haven't played it with since Kentucky? The last time they played ball with each other. And then our coach, yeah, he was a good assistant, but being a head coach in the NBA can't be easy.
Before this streak started, they were above 500. I don't know what the answer is here or the solution is for the Rockets. I mean, fortunately, they're in a bigger market, so you know you could kind of attract some veterans out there on the cheap next season and following seasons. But I don't think if they got the number 1 or 2 overall pick in the NBA draft, I don't think that's the solution.
Yeah, neither do I. I can agree with you on that, especially because when we got our new general manager, we got our new coach, we made some moves that got us some decent picks. And the next 2 or 3 years, we got a lot of picks. Veterans came in, veterans left. I don't know if it's in the locker room. I don't know if it's, the business talk. And then we made the changes from the top.
It got to a certain point, like they were trying, and then it got to maybe like 10 or so games or something. And they were like, man, we're not going to be able to compete with the roster we currently have. So let's just go ahead and tank it for now. Who do you kind of blame for where they are right now? Do you blame it on Daryl Morey, James Harden?
I can't blame James Harden. I mean, as much as I can't stand the guy anymore, he's a hooper, man. When it comes to basketball, that guy can play. Could he have done more for the city and the sports during the bigger games? Absolutely. I mean, go back to Game 7 when we were playing the Warriors when he had 15 turnovers. It's like, you can't do that at an all-star level. You can't do that as an MVP in general of who you are. And then the way he went out, it's like, I can blame our higher-ups of we should have gotten more for him. I felt like we settled when we got rid of him. And we did a lot for him when he was with us for the last 8 years. I mean, we brought in a lot of big names. And again, going back to, I don't know how the locker room is. So who knows how he is in the locker room? But if you look at the Nets right now, they're doing great. So is it the locker room? Is it James Harden? I'm not one to say that it is him. But right now, where the status of the Rockets is and where our future looks like, you got to put it on general management. You got to put it on upper staff. Oladipo, I was a little upset about that. Not because of the trade. I was upset because I felt like when we got him, he didn't want to be in Houston. And he played like he didn't want to be in Houston, which now he's gone. I mean, 20 games, losing streak. Who wants to be in Houston? But still, I was a big fan of Oladipo before we got him. And now I can't stand the guy.
I mean, I think there's a few ways you can look at it. You say maybe you blame Daryl Morey, but he was kind of trying to bend over for Harden a little bit, wasn't he? I mean, as far as like he went out and got Chris Paul, and then Harden didn't really like him, so he ships him off for 2 years. After 2 years to get Westbrook. So it kind of seemed like he was trying to do whatever he could to make because Harden and CP3 had that little, I guess, confrontation or whatever at the end of that second year there, and it seems from the outside looking in that Harden wanted CP3 out after that. So it kind of seems like Daryl Morey kind of bent over to get him out of there to bring in Westbrook. So, I mean, you could blame Harden on that. And then you could also blame Harden as far as forcing his own self out 1 year after Morey bent over to get Westbrook for him. So I don't know. I think there's a couple different angles you could look at it. You could blame Morey for doing too much for Harden. You could blame Harden for trying to put too much pressure on Morey to make deals that he shouldn't have probably made. Or you could just look at it as they had their run. I mean, when they make their run after a few seasons, if they don't win it, teams typically break up nowadays. They don't stay together forever. So, I mean, that's just kind of how basketball is.
It's a perfect storm, right? They're essentially rebuilding as a whole. When you get rid of somebody like James Harden, who you guys mentioned a while ago, that was their entire system. So you're rebuilding your system. You got a brand new coach. You got a brand new GM. There's no difference in an expansion team to where the Houston Rockets are now. I don't know. I think time will tell on Silas. I think he deserves at least another season, if not more. Yeah. Because this isn't his fault.
Yeah. I mean, if Silas is going to be the dude, they're going to have to be patient with him. I mean, he's in a mess right now of a situation. There's nothing he can do. I don't know if he's the guy or not, to be honest. But
yeah, I don't know either.
You're not going to find out this year or probably next year. You're going to have to give him a couple years. The GM's going to have to do what he's got to do to put together a roster that can at least compete for the playoffs. And then you can make that decision. But
I think on that same note too, like when my blame comes to putting it on Morey, it's like you said, he did bend over backwards for Harden. He really did. He did a lot for Harden, brought a lot of big names in. But one thing he did, that the D'Antoni and Harden connection, I felt like was good. Social media made it look like it was trash, but look who is the assistant coach in Brooklyn, Mike D'Antoni. And then Harden's playing MVP level right now, averaging 11 and a half assists a game, leading the league in points. And it's like when he broke it up and they put all the blame on D'Antoni and him Morey not taking any backlash, I guess you can say, for breaking that up. I think Harden took it personal. He made his way out of Houston personal.
This 20-game losing streak does not reflect Silas at all. It's definitely not him. If anything, I think it's the management. It's the GM and how they put the team that they put together for Silas to run. Feel bad for the Rockets. Not really though, because I'm a big Spurs fan. But it's I feel for you. We do hope for better days. At least 500 days, because that's right around where we are right now. So now we reached the bottom of the cliff. And let's talk about, the Houston Texans, man.
Do we really want to do this?
Let
me get some tissues first.
We obviously have to tread lightly on, the biggest story with Deshaun Watson.
Situations. Yeah.
And so let's first to dive into Deshaun Watson, let's discuss the initial reaction of him wanting to be traded and management not wanting to trade him.
I think he has a reason to want to leave. If you look at the last couple seasons, they got rid of his targets. I mean, they got rid of Hopkins without even telling him. He found out Hopkins was being traded over social media. Now, as a quarterback at that level, and as the lead as he was playing and where that team was when we had that squad, your quarterback is your leader in the NFL. It's a well-known fact for any sports fan. And for him not to even know that they were trading his number one target, who just came off of a season of 200 catches in a row, I think he had a reason to want to leave and want to be traded. I don't agree with how he was going about wanting to sit out this entire season if they weren't going to trade him, regardless of the fines and the penalties. But again, I don't get to see the backside of it, of how ugly it truly is. I can see why he was ready to be out. Shit, I want to be out too, man. I wanted to be out a long time ago when we had Bill O'Brien. That guy was garbage.
So taking things at face value, Deshaun, he has every right to want to leave. They traded without telling him, for my money, the best receiver in the NFL.
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely top 3, right? That's not an argument. Top 3 for my money. He's the best receiver. They traded him without telling him for David Johnson. I think we can all agree, at least right initially at face value in the beginning, he deserves to have his mind, spoken, and I think he deserves to have, an opportunity to leave Houston. Josh, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we all agree on that. So next question is, where do they go from here? I mean,
okay, so that step
we kind of mentioned that. We talked about it, and I think our first episode that the Texans should probably look to trade him, right? So that they can start the rebuild. They can't trade him now. He's not going nowhere because of the situation that's going on. So that's not even an option right now. What do they do from here?
I think personally, and of course to tread very lightly on the situation, the whole scandal thing that's going on. It's gonna hurt us, but I think we should buy out his contract, buy out, do what we gotta do, take the hit the next couple of years. And I mean, we just got Tyrod Taylor, I think is who we just
Tyrod Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, and he's not the best, but he's not the worst. I mean, think about who we've had as a franchise as backups in the last 4 or 5 years. I would ride it out with him.
How long does that hit him? If they were to release him, how long is that going to hit their cap?
I think it would hit us the next couple seasons pretty bad, and that's not. I mean, we don't even have a pick until round 3 of next year. Right. You know what I mean? Because of what we got set up for and what he got set up for. But with the whole scandal issue, unfortunately, when it comes to stuff like that, I'm a firm believer that the franchise knows about it before people know about it. How long were we going to let him ride out, pushing the button on and not wanting to play before this was going to get leaked and let the franchise hit where we're at now?
Dude, that is 110% right. You hit the nail on the head there. They probably knew about this, before he demanded the trade, and they used this as ammunition. I believe that he could still be traded.
Yeah, but with this, we don't know if he's going to jail for the next 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. So if Houston could just get some draft picks, maybe a first rounder next year, at this point, you'll take anything. Absolutely. So I think people would take flyers on a couple draft picks, not knowing if what the situation is, but I think they would take a flyer on him if all the allegations are true. He deserves the entire book thrown at him and every possible bad thing that should happen to somebody that does something like that, because there's just no room for that in society, let alone somebody of his stature. Now, on the flip side of that, the lawyer for the defendants is really good friends with the owner.
Yep.
That's a serious conflict of interest.
Yeah, and it should be, but and you're exactly right, and I agree with that. And it's unfortunate that hasn't been brought up too much though. And I'm not agreeing with what he did is okay. Like you said, absolutely not. If allegations are true, he should get the book thrown at him. He should serve his time. Stuff like that's not okay as a human in society, regardless of your status. Ever. Absolutely not. Especially, I mean, I have a daughter, so you know what I mean? And that's not okay. But at the end of the day, when you look back at it, look at the Big Ben situation. My man had a good O-line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
literally and figuratively.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then so with the conflict of interest with the owner and the lawyer thing, it's like, what are y'all doing to this man? What are y'all doing in his career? Are y'all taking it personal as a city because all the franchises right now are going through everything? But to be very clear about the topic itself, if the allegations are true, get his ass out of the NFL. Put his ass in jail, take care of business as you would a regular human being.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't let money talk.
And on the flip side of things, though, what sucks for me looking at it as a diehard Houston fan, people are gonna get him for cheap.
Yeah,
it's gonna drop his trade value. Yeah, but it doesn't mean teams aren't gonna go after him.
No, I was actually listening to a radio talk radio show in the morning as well, and they kind of alluded to it his value is going to go down tremendously. So one of these desperate GMs for a bad team, they're going to take a chance on him. If he's not in jail, somebody's going to bite on him because he's worth so little at this point. So,
it's basically gonna be a steal. If you're looking at the business perspective of it, to get a guy like that, it's gonna be a steal. Are you gonna have to deal with a lot? Absolutely, you are. You're gonna have to deal with a lot of pushback. You're gonna have to deal with all the social media these days, blowing you up for all the negatives.
And you know what the cure is? To win. If you win, they're not talking about that.
Absolutely. And that's that's so true in sports. It's like it never happened. So that's what I mean. Like, of course, we're treading lightly on the topic itself with what's going on with him. So, for all the followers, we want to make sure it's very clear that, allegations are true, throw his ass in jail. If they're not true, a franchise, unfortunately, is going to end up with a damn good quarterback for cheap.
I think because there's so many people coming out, the odds definitely are not in his favor.
Dude, I lost count. Like,
I think it's at least 17, right? 17.
I was gonna say it started with a couple, and then next thing I knew, it was like 5, and then it was like 9, and I was like, as a Texans fan, I'm just like, what is happening?
And all it takes is one person to come out, and then somebody else says, you know what, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
That happened to me too.
To feed off of that, Chris, like I said earlier, I am a firm believer that franchises know before it gets to this level, regardless of social media or not. And I'm also a firm believer in money talks, man, and it's unfortunate for victims in any kind of situation, but sometimes victims are at a state in their life where here's X amount of dollars, sign this paper. And that's what they do because they need that more than their voice being heard. And so that's also why I say, like, if allegations are allegations, no matter what level of status you are as an individual, allegations are allegations. So if they are true, throw his ass in jail to give the book to him. If they're not, what's going to happen next to all of the allegations? That's the other side of the story too that I wish would be talked about as well. It's like
you don't hear about that side of things.
Exactly, and is it the city itself? Is it the conflict of interest that are bullying this poor man because he wants to sit out a season because they've done him dirty and he doesn't want to waste his whole career in football? Unfortunately, like JJ Watt did not win a title. Or are they true and he's scared of what's going to happen next, which is why they're finally those people who were throwing X amount of dollars. It's like, there is no dollar amount now. I want my voice heard. So now the number is adding up to all of the voices that are wanting to be heard. I can't speak as a victim of, an assault or anything like that. So I don't know what it feels like internally to be the fear, I guess you can say, behind of wanting to be said. But I know that sometimes when certain dollar amounts are being thrown at certain people, everybody says money talks. So
one way or another, whether it's through the Texans or through Deshaun Watson, it's not going to end pretty.
No.
But needless to say, that relationship is officially strained. And I mean, I think to see him in a Houston Texans t-shirt, let alone a jersey, is a foregone conclusion that will never happen again.
So what do they do to speed up the rebuilding process? What do you think they should do? I mean, they did, however, make some trades in the offseason that gave them another 5th-round pick and 6th-round pick from the Patriots. So they got like 2 5th rounds, 3 6th rounds. What do you think they should do? I mean, I'm guessing they're trying to get those picks and they're going to try to package those and try to maybe move up earlier in the draft somewhere.
I think
because right now they only got one top 100 pick. So what do you think?
I think you're right. I think we're going to try and get a little package deal out of it. I think our first step, though, where we went wrong is when we got rid of Fuller. I think we could have got a pick out of him higher. I can agree with you, Josh, I think we're going to try and package up and over the next 2 years, scoot some of those picks up to get what we need. And obviously what we need is going to be another quarterback. What Houston as a franchise has always needed is a safety. We had Jonathan Joseph forever, but he was the only thing that we had, and he can't guard the whole field. So we got to get back on the defense. Defense wins games because it's going to be a good 2 or 3 seasons before the Texans are back up there.
I think that wraps it up for Houston sports.
This roller coaster only had one high, and everything went downhill after that, and it stayed downhill. But like you said, that's Houston sports.
At least we have more than one sports team, so we're gonna go up those downs, up those lows. I would hate to know what it feels like to be from San Antonio and only have the Spurs, because that's obviously you're gonna throw all your money in on one franchise if that's all you got.
We've talked about this, Tomas. To second your point, it does suck to have one professional team, but it doesn't suck to have 5 championships, which is more than Houston has.
If you include the Comets, we have more than 5 total overall. I mean, how many did they win back to back? Cheryl Swoops, baby, all day long.
I don't include the Comets. No, but nobody includes the Comets. All right, come on. The Comets aren't even a thing anymore, man. If you say Houston Comets, they're gonna think you're talking about like laundry detergent or something. Nobody knows what the hell you're talking about.
It's like trying to bring up the Houston Aeros. It's been an honor, to be on the podcast, talk to you guys, chat. I'm always down to talk sports in general. Thanks for bringing me on the episode. Houston dedicated as a Houston, Houstonian, born and raised in the city. I love Houston. I'll always be a sports fan. I'm never a bandwagoner. I'm not going to jump on another city just because they're winning.
Greatly appreciate you hopping on with us today, talking all things Houston. We'd love to have
No
you
worries,
back on.
Man.
Like and subscribe. Hit us up. Let us know in the comments what city you want us to cover next. But appreciate that dude, Tomas. It's that dude,
Always,
Josh.
Man. Been a pleasure. Anytime y'all need any real facts, man, y'all just come get me. You know who to call.
Always, man. Always. Don't forget, hit that like button. Push
Down
it.
that like button.
Let's go, baby.